All right, welcome everybody to episode 39 of the Daily BLP. I'm Brian, and we've got a couple people on the show as usual. Manoj over in India and Matt in Colorado. Manoj, how are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm good.
All right. Matt, how are you doing today, bud?
Doing good, brother, but glad to be here.
Yeah, glad we finally decided to press the record button, got all the equipment working.
Yep.
We're working with some new stuff, guys, so bear with us. Most likely, after everything's produced, you won't even know it. But anyway, happy to be back. Today's Monday. Had a nice little weekend. Matt, did you do anything special this weekend?
Yeah, actually went camping up in a cool area called Twin Lakes, Colorado. So that was fun. Got up in the mountains, and you forget how cold it can still get at night in the spring when you're up in the altitude. So it got chilly up there.
What did the temperature get down to?
It got down to about 30, and
That's
windy.
cold. That's
Yeah.
cold if you don't have the right equipment.
Yep, exactly. So luckily I had a big old comforter. Had plenty of blankets and stuff. So we were prepared. We knew it would get cold, but man, it got pretty cold.
How many people were camping with you?
I'd say we had a crew of about 10, I'd say. So pretty good
Oh,
group.
cool. So you
Yeah.
got quite a few friends out there now, eh?
Yep, definitely. Yeah, been out here. It's going on just about, I think, a little over half a year been in Colorado now. So yeah, pretty much all settled in, kind of got a lay of the land. So yeah, really enjoying it out here.
Awesome. So I'm guessing full tent camping.
Yeah, so I actually throw an air mattress. I have a pickup truck. I throw an air mattress in the back of my pickup and kind of do that. And then we're so high up, bugs aren't really a problem
No.
with the altitude there. So you don't really need a covering there. So I was just kind of in the back of my bed of my
So
truck.
you're just open at the stars.
Yeah, looking up at the stars. So it was pretty dang cool if you ask me.
Nice. I've been looking at a couple things for my pickup. Like I was watching a video of a pop-up camper that you can put on the back of your pickup now, and they've actually got soft cover, trailer or like bed covers now that kind of fold down and fold up. And
Yep.
I was thinking of doing the same thing, camping, next year and stuff in the fall. But
Yep.
because I'm used to the tent camping, pulling out the cot, or
Yeah.
sleeping on the ground or something. But the crazy thing when you're in a cot and it's cold, all the cold air is underneath you.
Yep.
So your back gets cold if you don't have enough, have the right like bag and stuff. But cool. Sleep in the bed of the
With
truck.
those, you just pop them up too. Not really much of a setup after the initial setting it up in your bed. So you just kind of pop it up from what I've seen. Yeah, those are really cool. Would love to get that.
Yeah. Awesome. Cool. Well, camping's awesome. Did you just do like one night, or did you go like Friday night and Saturday night, or what?
No, just did Saturday. Just did one night, which was, yeah, it was perfect. So yeah, just went up Saturday morning, came back yesterday afternoon.
Cool.
Yep.
Awesome. Man, camping is something I'd love to do more of. Thought I would. My wife's not a big camper. She'd be a good big camper if we had a camper.
Right.
She's kind of a glamper. So,
Yeah.
and I think my son would probably be like that too. Deck, who you guys know from helping out with the show. But my daughter, she loves tent camping. Anyway, let's get right into what's going on. So, this week, not a whole lot. We do have a presentation for a new IT client opportunity. Pretty optimistic about it. I'm going to go into it with a couple options in mind just in case they balk at the big one. But the big one is going to be probably worth close to $3,000 a month for us, which is good. It's a local chiropractor's office. They've got right around, I think, like 24 workstations, and they're hosting a server in the cloud, and it's just not working out very good. So we're either going to migrate that over to a better cloud option or talk to them about doing a project and bringing their server back in-house. They don't really have it. The tricky thing is they don't have an IT company right now. They're used to spending a little bit every month on this cloud hosting for their server to run their EHR, but it's so old and so slow, it slows them down like crazy. They're probably wasting, between like loading screens and stuff like that, probably in all their employees that use it 2 to 4 hours a day, just kind of waiting for things to spin up. The time adds up fast. If you've got 10 or 12 employees that are running in and out of visit rooms, trying to update charts, and every time they pull up their software, it's spinning for 5 or 10 seconds or more to pull up a chart. And then you click out of that and click into something else. You could be wasting 10 to 15 minutes, per visit on things. So we'll see. It's my job to educate them on how much time they could be possibly wasting and how much that's actually worth to the company. So And that can add up quick when you got a lot of employees over the course of a month. So where they think they're only spending, let's say $400 a month on their server, they could be spending in lost production time $5,000 a month, easy. And they don't even know it. So we'll see. But either way, it's probably one of the two best opportunities that Arsenal has set up with us for leads. So I'm excited for that, and I've got to spend a good portion of the week getting ready for it. I planned on doing a lot of that on Friday, but I didn't. I ended up messing with a lot of this setup in here and kind of getting these things ready, and still had to do it this morning when we came in. So what about you, Matt? You got anything big? Any big opportunities coming in?
Yeah, just closed a webinar deal with a cool company. We'll be doing some webinars for them within their industry, so that's pretty cool. That'll get started within a few weeks here. That just closed down last week, so excited about that. But yeah, other than that, yeah, just kind of same old, running the podcast. Got some new webinars coming up, and then hoping to get a new kind of big more production within the end of the month. Hoping to close on that with kind of multiple camera kind of shots, because that's where my passion really lies, is that really big film kind of things.
Yeah.
So hoping to get one more of those. But other than that, yeah, just rocking and rolling, and closed a new one last week, which was good.
Cool. So tell me about this webinar thing. So I've never had a lot of luck setting up webinars. What's the key to a good six? Obviously, it's getting people in, right? Getting people
Yep.
into the webinar, that can be tricky. For producing, there's lots of different software that allows you to do it. Almost all of these video software platforms allow you to kind of set your meeting up as a webinar. What's kind of the secret sauce that you guys are doing?
Yeah, so one thing that we do that's kind of proprietary, that sets us apart from the way we do webinars, is one issue with webinars is when it's completely live, you have all these technical issues, you're hoping people join, you really don't know what's going to happen and all that. So what we do is we use a collection of service or softwares where we pre-record it. We're
Okay.
able to do the post-production to make it look, sound good, all that good stuff. And then there are ways where you can still technically make it like you're going live. So if you've seen things on LinkedIn where it's like,
Yeah.
hey, Brian Collins is now going live, some of those, they're not actually going live. With certain softwares, you're able to upload a pre-recorded video and make it look like you're going live, whether it's YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, all that good stuff. And so that's one thing we really use. And the other thing is people argue, well, what if the people have questions or things like that? What we do is the host of the webinar still joins the live,
Yeah.
and they send in the chat, hey, Brian here, thanks for joining. You guys have any questions, drop them in the chat. I'll be around the whole time. So that's one way we've done it, because one, you're able to have this pre-recorded webinar. As you know, the power of mini clips, you're able to clip it up,
Yeah.
kind of advertise it, say, here's a clip of Brian talking about IT solutions. If you want to hear the rest, come into our webinar on Wednesday. So that's one thing that we do here at Pivot that's different from other companies that set up webinars, is we pre-record it, but the viewer doesn't necessarily really know that. And there's so much power in that, whether it's the quality, the marketing you can do behind it, and just ensuring, people that are in there, you're interacting with them. It makes it easier for the host to interact, because if they're in a webinar presenting, they're not going to see every question, but if they're just in the chat looking at it, they're able to respond to more people as well.
Yeah. I mean, that's that, we've tried to, well, we haven't got around to trying it, but we've got some scripted things built up, and that's kind of what we're looking at doing. We'll call them like on-demand webinars. So you can do that, and you can have them pre-recorded and out there, and people can watch them on demand, if they sign up. But I like the way you're talking about it, where you're actually scheduling a viewing of it, right? It's like,
Yep.
It's like, let's say we're going to have the webinar, this Wednesday. You can sign up for the 9 a.m., the 1 p.m., or the 3 p.m., right? And when they
Yep.
go in there, it's running live, and you got people in there being able to respond to the questions as though it's, actually happening right then and there.
Yep, exactly. And especially with time zones too, it helps with that. Someone might at 8 a.m. on the East Coast might work for someone, but someone in Pacific, that's like 5 a.m. for them. So it allows you to reach a higher demographic, especially internationally too. This company we're working with has a big international presence. So, like UK, for example, 6 hours ahead of the Eastern. So you gotta, it allows you to reach a bigger demographic, rather than, hey, we have this webinar at 1 p.m. Eastern on Saturday, just giving them one shot shot. You want to give people as much opportunity as they can to view your content.
For sure. What's the key to a good webinar when it comes to how you put together the content?
Yeah, I think it relies on two things, or actually three things, I would say. I would say your moderator needs to be very good and experienced. And not only that, but being able to ensure that some of the panelists are not doing too long-winded and kind of like, hey, let's move topics, make sure they're not moving on one. Really want to make sure you have a good moderator. Really want to make sure you have great panelists knowledgeable on, the industry specific items. And then three, I think kind of like you were saying, I would call it maybe a script, maybe a questions, but have some sort of idea of the topics you're going to do so none of your panelists are really caught off guard. You want them to kind of understand what they're going to be talking about so they can bring up thoughts. Because one big thing too that I really like to do is, I'm a visual learner. I know a lot of other individuals are. Say they're talking about statistics, planning say, hey, Brian, we're going to talk about how many IT healthcare providers there are in Colorado. That'll allow us on the production side to create like a graph visual to pop that up while you're talking as well to give some visuals. So I think the panelists, the moderator, and then the content are the three main things there.
Cool. It's one of those things like everybody's been trying to do these webinars or lunch and learns and things like that for a year. And I think maybe it's just me. A lot of the times is like, I'll get an email. Oh, I'm really interested in that. I'm going to sign up for that. And then the day comes around. I'm like, if there's anything that's going to get from my day, it's going to be that, right?
Yep, exactly.
Because sometimes they're good, but sometimes they just feel like sales pitches as opposed to really good, useful content that people can like apply.
Yep.
You know what I mean? I think because ultimately, let's be real, they are a sales pitch. They are meant 100%. To be something that gets people in, and familiarizes them with you and what you do. But I think there's a hard balance of making sure you build your webinar in a way that people leave feeling empowered to go do what they just witnessed. And if it turns around where, it's a little bit too complicated, I don't have the time to do it, now they know who to go to, right? So that can be tricky.
Exactly.
Cool. Well, good job getting that new business.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
Awesome. So what else is happening in the world of Panacea? Let's see. We've got a couple good leads that we're still working as far as the big Scribe and another big RCM prospect out in Florida that's a big cardio group. So we're working those ones hard. Those big ones, they just take a little bit longer because you're working with more red tape and more kind of corporate bureaucracy as far as the decision-making process. So it's something I got to get used to because I'm really, most of my experience over the last 15 years has been dealing strictly with small and medium-sized businesses, smaller to smaller medium-sized business, because a medium-sized business can get pretty big, but where you don't have a lot of that, right? You go through your sales process and, you're trying to get those decision makers at the table to present to and to make a decision quick and not have to kind of go back and go to board meetings and move things around and, play a game for 6 months until someone kind of comes right around. You're hoping to close a deal either at the table or within a week or two of, that lead first coming in. So I've got to wrap my head around that and get better at learning what the process is for those big ones to keep people on the hook, and really find out kind of where they are at in their process and keep moving them along. So I should try to find somebody that's got a little bit more kind of enterprise and corporate sales experience and kind of how they navigate that, because I just don't have a lot of experience there. Anyway, what else is going on? Any big stories in the news? I haven't watched the news in the last couple of days. Anything going on in the world business-wise, or any planes falling out of the sky? Hopefully not.
Haven't seen any planes fall out of the sky. I did see, if you remember, we talked a while back, Southwest was taking away their checked bag inclusion. That just got implemented, I heard. I think May 25th, I want to say. So that's official.
It's going down.
Yeah, it's here. I believe it's happening. And so I remember because I bought a Southwest flight because I'm going to be coming back from New York, and it was still included when I bought that maybe back in April. And so now if you buy on Southwest, from my understanding, it's no more free checked bags.
Whoa.
which is their value prop. Now they're not no different than the Frontier or the Spirits, really, in my
Yep.
opinion. That was what kind of separated them from that a little higher up, just below, I'd say, Delta United. But
Yep.
Southwest was here because of the bags, and they have the pick in the seats. And now I'd say they're just on the same level as Frontier and Spirit. Not that there's anything wrong with those airlines, but there's levels to it, obviously. And I think
there's a la carte. Like
Yep.
those other airlines, they advertise their low ticket prices, and you go in to buy them,
Yep.
and you find out, well, I got to pay for a bag, right? A big bag.
Yep.
So, and those are fine for when a lot of the times when you're just doing a weekend trip and you don't have a lot of stuff to bring, all you need is your backpack, or all you need is that carry-on. You can get a lot of
Yep.
stuff in there. But
Yep.
when you're staying for
I
a
fly
week,
Frontier a lot.
oh, do you?
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. Yeah, a good amount. They're hubbed here in Denver, so you can get pretty good prices on there. And like you said, for the weekend, I just need my book bag and a checked bag. I don't, or not a checked, but carry on. And so yeah, I've actually had great experiences with Frontier, except they do make you pay for water. And so I didn't bring a water bottle on my first time, and I was like, "Can I get a water?" And they were like, "Yeah, $3." And I was like, "Dang, okay."
Oh, really?
free
So they don't
water.
like offer you even just like a little thing of water while you're flying?
No.
Yeah, that's
Not from
how
my
that's how
understanding.
Spirit and those guys are too. Because
Yep.
every little thing is is monetized.
Yeah,
I'm
literally.
surprised you don't have to pay to get in the bathroom. Honestly,
Yeah,
maybe
right.
maybe
Little
that's
coin.
right. Exactly. Maybe that's just something legally they have to provide that.
Yep.
But yeah, I'm surprised. Anyway, cool. Well, that's good. There's there's probably a lot of news, but I'm torn. Like I want to keep up so we can discuss some of this stuff and comment and see how it affects the business. But also, I don't like to delve too far into the news, because then you start getting negative and cranky about people making bad decisions and stuff.
Yep.
All right.
Cool.
Well, in the wide world of sports, or at least a little bit, we've been focusing on. It's been a week or two since we really got to talk about it much, but we finally have the finals for the NBA figured out. So the two teams that are going to be meeting, the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Indiana Pacers, two small market teams meeting for the big show in the NBA.
Yep. I think it'll be a good one. I'm actually excited. Usually when you have two smaller teams, people tend to not get as excited, but I'm really excited for this one. I mean,
They're high flyers, man. I think I don't know. I mean, everybody buckles down a little bit more with defense, but both of these teams, they're runners. They're flashy, so that should make for a fun series.
100%.
I've only been watching highlights up to this point. I was on the way into the office today. I was thinking, man, I think I got to figure out what the schedule is for the games, and just buy the package for the finals and watch them, just to kind of get a little bit better of an angle of what's going on. It might be kind of cool.
Yeah, and like you were saying, I mean, I'm the same way. It's hard for me to watch, especially with how long the basketball season is. It's hard to watch every game, and even all the playoff games, because there's so much going on. But now you got kind of the one game to focus on. I really love locking in, because everything is on the line every single game. So it's a cool watch.
Yeah, I might do it. I might just do it, and then, because I think my Declan's not too big into basketball. He loves baseball. We can sit and watch baseball all day.
Oh yeah.
But my daughter Aria, who's turning 12 pretty soon, she loves basketball, so she'd probably like watching.
Oh yeah.
We watched a couple of the NCAA women's games this past spring, and she was locked in. She didn't want to make it an enjoyable experience for the both of us. She was like, "Dad, shut up, I'm watching," because she gets serious, which is pretty cool. She's super, super competitive.
Love that.
Yeah. So all right. So who are you pulling for?
I'd say the Pacers, just because they don't have a championship. I'd like to see them. They're just, you don't really hear much about the Pacers really at all. And so now that they're in here, and I really love the players, the coach, I forget his name, but it was the guy that won the and I think it was the MVP of that last series, and just how, I don't know, just the chemistry that. Yep. And just the, I don't know, the team chemistry, how Halliburton, all of them, they seem to really care, love for each other, just the teammate. I love the crew. So I'm pulling for them just because I feel like I really love the crew on the team there.
Yeah. I think I'm with you. I think they're the underdogs, right? They're considered the underdogs?
I can look it up.
Let's look up real quick, see who's favored. I think OKC was the number 1 seed in the West, and I want to say Indiana was maybe like 4 or 5 or something like that. I can't remember.
Yep, looks like OKC is favorited. Pacers with a plus 550 underdog. So in betting terms, they're known as a pretty big underdog there with plus 550.
Yeah. I mean, just from what I've watched a little bit of OKC and those highlights, they are just so potent. I mean, they can just run, and before you know it, they can be up by 40. And that could say a lot. Either the teams can't run with them, or they just got really good defense and they can score. So I haven't looked up what they're ranked as far as defense or anything, but usually,
and they're also young too.
Yeah, they're super young teams. Crazy.
Yeah.
Usually I'll if I don't have any dogs in the fight, I'll pull for the West, even though I'm a Bucks fan and they're in the East. But I grew up, in Texas, and so I was always like a Spurs and a Rockets fan. Never really a Mavs fan. But I would always kind of, especially during the 90s, even though I loved Jordan, they always won. So I was always pulling for the underdogs in those games. So
yep, it's like when the Yankees play someone, it's like I'm always rooting against the Yankees no matter who they're playing, really.
Yeah, it's so funny. When I was a kid, I liked the Yankees, and the only reason was because my stepdad, he worked at a Ford dealership in a small town in Wisconsin, northern Wisconsin, called Marinette. And he was a parts guy. And one day, a guy named Bob Wickman rolled in and needed some service done on his Ford. And at the time, he was pitching for the Yankees. This was early 90s. He was kind of a no-name guy. He didn't pitch or play for all that long, but he was still a pro, right? And my stepdad went out, grabbed a baseball, bought a baseball, came back and had him sign it. And I still have that baseball.
Oh, that's so
and again, it's not worth anything, but for a long time, because I had a baseball of a guy who played for the Yankees, I was a Yankees fan.
Yeah,
it was easy to be a Yankees fan in the 90s because they were really good.
Yep. I mean, I will give it, when Jeter was on the Yankees, I would still root for the Yankees sometimes just because Derek Jeter was Derek Jeter. But
he was a workman, right? He wasn't flashy.
Nope.
He was always dating some celebrity, but man, he wasn't. Yeah. He wasn't flashy. He didn't talk. He didn't jaw. He just seemed like he was just a really good athlete and was super consistent.
Yep, and a good role model. I feel like he was a good role model for kind of kids to look after. Just the way he kind of carried himself too. It was just seemed like a great guy. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm wondering what he's up to these days. He's not doing any. Is he doing any announcing or any like?
I feel like I've maybe seen him a few times doing some commentator here and there. I don't think he has a long-term deal. I did see he's in a pretty funny Capital One commercial recently. Yeah, so that was funny. It was like he was like on the stage and they're like, "So how'd you become?" And it's him and the Capital One guy, and it's supposed to be they're asking Derek Jeter advice, and all the kids are like, "How'd you become the Capital One guy?" And like asking the Capital One guy all the questions instead of Derek Jeter.
Instead of Jeter.
Yeah, and so I was like, because I'll pay attention to commercials every now and then, just because I'm like, if I catch a good commercial, I'm like, dang, that was pretty good right there. I like that.
Yeah. Well, all right, I suppose. Well, we've got some good time in today. It's a good show. Thanks everybody for tuning in. We're gonna cut it for today. We'll be right back with you tomorrow. So mark your calendars, mark your time, watch for the posting, and thanks again for joining us. We'll see you next time. Thanks for joining us on the 39th episode of the Daily BLP. Take care, everybody.